Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Ready in Minutes workout. Today we've got an intermediate level circuit that is all about stability and mobility together. So literally every exercise I've chosen for this series of 5 moves is going to challenge both of these things at the same time. I'm going to encourage you to take breaks when you feel like you need to, not because the weight's going to be super heavy or because your conditioning is going to be very challenged, but because the combination of testing your stability and your mobility together may lead to you needing to stop and reset here and there. Also, don't rush through these movements because the slower and more deliberate you can make each one of these moves, the more control you'll build in them. All right, now let's dive in and see what we're doing. All right, so as you can see, the rhythm here is a little slower as opposed to what we might be used to if we're focusing on HIIT, conditioning, or strength. But this is also an opportunity to really build ownership of each of these movements because the slower you can move through each of them, the more control you'll end up building. So let's break down each part of our sequence. All right, so we're opening up with what I consider to be the hardest move in this whole sequence, an offset single leg deadlift. Now, what this means is that we're going to be holding the kettlebell in one hand and hinging on the other leg. So there's going to be a lot of pull on the opposite side you don't have support on. Let me show you. So my left leg is on the ground. I'm holding the kettlebell in my right hand and I start kicking my right leg back behind me as I work into my hinge, pause, and make my way back up. This can be pretty challenging, so if you're not quite there with your balance, an alternative you can do is turn this into a kickstand. So we're still gonna hinge on the left leg and hold it with our right hand, but we're gonna give ourselves a little bit of support with our right leg. Instead of it kicking straight back behind us, the toes are pointed down in the ground and we're going to hinge on over, pause, and make our way back up. Now you might notice that after my 5th rep, I kicked up into a clean with my hip flexed. This was to help transition into the rack and into the next move in the sequence, which is our narrow squat. You don't have to do this, it's just a little bit of flair. You could just as easily pause, set it on the ground, clean into the rack, and do your squat. But if you want to test yourself, it's an added bit of dynamic stability training. All right, now that we're in our rack position, we're going to bring our feet together. They're touching, our knees are not. Our form is gonna stay vertical in the rack, and we are going to squat down as low as we can get, keeping contact here, and make our way back up. Doing a narrow squat requires a lot of thoracic, hip, and ankle mobility. So if you're limited in one of these areas, respect the limitation and work within it. And as you work your reps over time, you'll see yourself getting lower and lower and things opening up. Just don't try to force too much too soon. And as a side note, it's a fantastic training tool to work up to your pistol squat. So it's definitely worth taking the time to build up if that's your goal. Next up, we have our windmill. So I'm going to press or push press overhead. And whichever side I press up from, my feet are going to face the opposite direction. So right arm's overhead, feet are now facing the left. The front leg is bent, the back leg is straight. I'm going to take my free hand and press it into my hip. I'm going to push back into a hinge as I look up at the bell. I'm only going to hinge as far as I feel I can control. Once I've hit my depth, I'm going to make my way back up, standing tall. This is an exercise you do not want to rush, especially since you have weight overhead. So take your time. And just like the previous exercise, don't rush too much too soon, because as you work within your limitations, you'll build the capacity for more over time. Another thing I would say is that if you haven't done too many windmills or you're not comfortable with it, just do it with body weight. Doing it like that will challenge your stability to a lesser degree, but you'll get the full mobility benefit that you would if you had the weight overhead. Once we're done with our windmills, we're gonna move on to our marching. So we're gonna keep the bell in lockout overhead. We're gonna lift our leg to 90 degrees, bring it back down, and do the same thing with the other leg. We're gonna repeat for all of our reps. Two important things to note here. One, you don't wanna march too fast because this is going to take all the stability work out of what you're doing. That said, you don't wanna go too slow either, because then this is going to become borderline unpleasant. Find a nice tempo you can control that still challenges you. The other thing is, do not shrug your shoulder overhead like this. This is not a good position to work from to challenge your stability. We want the shoulder down and the shoulder blade packed down. A good way to test for this is your ear next to your shoulder. If you're here, not good. If you're here, much better. Keep everything packed down and find a tempo you can work with and control. And lastly, we have a get down to get up. So this basically means that we're going to be overhead and lockout. We're gonna work our way down to the ground on our back, take a little break if we need to, and then work our way back up, standing tall in an overhead lockout. You might be tired at this point because there has been a lot of overhead stability stuff, so do take a break if you need to. And then when you feel like you can manage your overhead lockout while moving dynamically, do the get down to get up. Once you feel you're ready, focus on the stability of this movement. So tap the free leg, pivot on the knee, chop the hip, walk it out, sweep on out softly, sit softly, and on your elbow and down to the ground. When you're ready, roll back onto the forearm, squash on the ground, sweep, hinge, pivot this leg or the front one, you can also do this, and lunge back to the top for the finish. All right, that's all there is to it. Now let's go through it 2 times to each side together. All right, starting with our first side, our offset single leg deadlifts. Set up sturdy on the leg you're gonna be hinging on. Get a firm grip on that weight and hinge on out. Only go as deep as you feel you can control. And one more. All right, setting up for our narrow squat. Feet together, knees don't touch. Stay vertical in the rack. Get down as low as you can get. Make your way back up to lockout. 2, 3. Oh, a lot of cracking. 4 and 5. All right, let's get it overhead. Pivot the feet in the opposite direction. Front leg is bent, push into the hip for 1. 3. 4. And 5. Stay in lockout if you can. And let's do our marching for 10. And 10. All right, take a break if you need to. Otherwise, we're doing our get down to get up. So with the free hand, tap the leg, soft knee to the ground, pivot, chop, walk it out. Sweep on out, sit softly. And on your elbow and down to the ground. Let's roll back onto that forearm. Squash, sweep, hinge, pivot, and lunge. Bring it back down for the finish. All right, onto our second side, offset single leg deadlift for 5. So I'm gonna be hinging on the right leg, left leg is kicking behind, and I'm holding it with my left hand. And 3. 4. And 5. Kick up. All right, narrow squat. So vertical rack, feet are touching. Get down as low as you can and make your way back up. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's press it out overhead. Feet face the opposite direction. Take my hand, push it into my hip, and hinge. 1. 2. 'And last one. Okay, let's keep it overhead and lock out, and let's march for 10. 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, with the free hand, tap the leg, soft knee, pivot, chop, walk it out, sweep one out on your elbow and down to the ground. Let's roll back onto that forearm. Squash, sweep, hinge, pivot, and lunge. Bring it back to the rack and clean down for the finish. It's halfway through, guys. Let's get back to our first side. All right, we're back to our first side, starting with our offset single leg deadlifts. So here we go. Nice and stable. 3, 4, and 5. Up and down. All right, narrow squat, feet together, vertical rack. Get down to the bottom and make your way back up. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's send it overhead and get into our windmill position. And on the hip, push into it, look up at the bell. 1. 2. 3. 4. And 5. All right, let's keep it overhead if we can and march for 10. Seven, 8, 9, and 10. Tap the leg, big step back, soft knee to the ground. Chop, walk it out. On your elbow, forearm, and down to the ground. Let's roll back onto that forearm. Squash. Hinge, pivot, and lunge to the top for the finish. One side left to go. All right, guys, here we go. Strong finish. Last set, best set. Let's grab the bell. Leg nice and stable. Firm grip on the bell. Let's hinge on over. Nice and easy. And and make our way back up. Three, 4, and 5, and down. All right, narrow squat. Vertical, feet touching, down as low as you can go, can control, and make your way back up. 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, let's get that bell overhead to lockout. Feet go in the opposite direction. Press into that hip, push, look up at the bell as you hinge. For 1. 2. 3. 4. And 5. All right. Let's keep it overhead and lockout and march for 10. 4. 8, 9, and 10. All right, with the free hand, tap the leg, soft knee, pivot, chop, walk it out, sweep on your forearm and down. Roll back onto that forearm, squash, hinge, pivot, and lunge for the finish. And that's all there is to it. All right, great job, guys. I know stability work can be hard and frustrating at times, but how you move will be much better off for doing stuff like this every so often. So take your time with it. Find the right tempo that works for you. Not everything has to be excruciating slow, but you don't want to blaze through it either, or you're not really going to get the stabilizing benefits of working through your movements. As always, have fun with it. Let me know if you have any questions about any of the movements or any trouble, and how much you love it or hate it. And I'll see you guys real soon on the next one. Stay strong. To our marching. So we're going to lift our leg to 90 degrees.